Hello everyone, my name is Prasad Narwadkar, and today we'll talk about AngularJS testing using Karma and Jasmine. So here I'm running a simple uh, MongoDB Node.js API, which connects to a MongoDB database running on my local machine, and this is used by a Angular application that is here. Okay, so let me first explain how Angular JS testing works. Testing is a very important part of any software development process, software development life cycle, and Angular JS has a lot of support for different testing frameworks, and there is a test bed API, which is the primary API for running any AngularJS test using most frameworks. Here we'll talk about the Jasmine and using Karma. And here we initialize the test bed with standard calls. So we just get the test bed and then init the testing environment, so that the testing environment starts the browser and runs the test. And that's how the overall testing works. Let us do a very quick walkthrough of how the tests are written. So here we are using Jasmine. So we have say something called describe in each test. So for example, if you want to test a particular service, a particular component, you can write the test script just below the actual component in the same directory where your component is. So here as you can see that our test, which is by convention, you say the component name dot component dot spec dot ts. This is the standard naming convention for any test file. And here we initialize the component, and we do necessary declarations inside the testing module, because the testing module itself will use the component as such, just like any other module might use it. So we need to do the same kind of declarations here as well. So we have the important imports like client testing module, router testing, because router test also will be carried out by some components. So then there is something related to forms, where if there is some form, then that form can also be filled by this test. So there is client module, then all related modules. If you are using any Angular material, then those also need to. So whatever the basic idea is, whatever modules your component is using, the same modules will be used by your testing module, because it has to anyway construct your component. And then you have the providers, the related auth service, HTTP client, animations, and activated route, and so on, which is required for the router. And you create the component, which is named fixture. Fixture is like the component fixture. Fixture is a concept where whenever you want to initialize a component, you use the fixture to create a component, and then that creates a component fixture of that particular component, which then can be used to call various methods on it, and that's how it works. So here as an example, I'm saying it should create the component without any problems. So you would ask, why the creation test for a component, a simple creation is very important, because sometimes in the runtime, if all services or all modules that are needed by the component are not imported properly, the providers like service and other things are not provided properly, then your test might fail. And that's the reason you should always do a testing whether your component is actually initializing, and then it should create. Basically this is the test, and it says that expect the component to be truthy. That means it has a truthy value, which means it's a valid value, it's not undefined, it's not null, and things like that, the falsy values. So it's not, they are not falsy values, they are truthy values. So if I say expect the component to be truthy, anything that goes wrong with constructing the component, like create component goes wrong, something like in the before each itself something goes wrong, then those errors can be properly caught, and you'll then analyze what went wrong with your initialization code. And here in a component, so the Angular application is basically just a very simple application, which is a CRUD application. It creates a movie record and stores it in MongoDB, and then when the movie is created, the list of movies page is shown. That means it redirects to the page where the list of movies is shown, and that's how it works. And I also have another page where a basic Angular hero example is used, where the MongoDB API is used to create heroes and then display them using paginator and the table. So this is how the service works, and as you can see, we do the configure testing module, then we say it should be created, and then what I'm trying to do over here is I'm trying to call something which is something that gets the heroes with the proper API URL, and then I'm passing that I'm on the service, I'm calling the method of that service, and that's how I say if I know that these are my expected values of the hero list, and then if I say whatever data I expect, if it is equal to my expectation, whatever data is coming that is equal to my expectations, then that means my calls are my service calls are successful and my service is properly tested. So this is just one example. So let me show you how this works. So let us go here. So as you can see, it returns a very simple promise, and then in the promise I do a then, and then see if it is resolved, and this is like the parameters that contains the data, and that's how the data is equal to the expectation. I am checking that the data that is retrieved is similar to expectations. So this is how the overall tests work. There are so many tests, but the basic idea is to first create a test file for your component using name of the component.component.spec.ts. That's a standard convention, but you can use any convention that you need, and basically that's how you run the test. So in the initial stages, when you call npm test, which is the standard command for running the test, so you have the test.ts here, and test.ts initializes the test environment and then call all the necessary tests inside the application. So let us run the npm test and see what kind of a result we get. It's generating the browser application bundles, it's generating the code, it builds all the application bundles and then runs your tests. This process takes a little time, but once it is done, it's really fast. As you can see, it has started a browser, and it says Chrome is being controlled by automated test software, which indicates that this particular line, this particular message from Chrome, that Chrome is being controlled by automated test software, is actually also seen when you run Selenium tests for your web application. So what it does is it opens the web browser, goes to your URL, the Selenium testing goes to your URL and does the test as user. But here in the Jasmine test, the mechanism is it actually constructs your components and services and then calls the methods on those components or services. But Selenium doesn't do that. Selenium is just a browser driver, and it works as if is the user. So there is this fundamental difference between Selenium testing. Both are important, but this is the Jasmine test will tell you more about how your code is organized, how your code is covered, and Selenium testing will ensure that your application will be used reliably by your users by ensuring that all the things that a user does will be done by Selenium test framework and give you the results. Any errors or defects that are reported by this test should be fixed and should really help you to debug your code and make it more robust. So you can see the hero service says it should be created, and then it should be the expected heroes from a call to the service, which I in turn call the API over here. So I can show you the API, and this is the API call that was done. That is how it is, how it works, right? So this is all about Angular testing. There are many frameworks like something like Mocha can also be used, and there are standard JS testing frameworks that also can be used by you, and this is how the overall testing framework works. So if you like this video, like this session, please share your feedback, and thank you very much, and happy hacking. Thanks.